Encased in ice for 500,000 years after the Galactic Council annihilated Earth, 100 hidden humans were jolted awake in a secret Arctic cryogenic chamber, humanity's last desperate gambit against certain extinction. Christian Mason's eyes snapped open as the lid of his frigid sarcophagus hissed and released, warm air flooding his lungs for the first time in 500,000 years. He stumbled out, legs unsteady, mind reeling. Glancing around the cavernous chamber, he saw rows of other pods opening, their groggy occupants emerging. A glowing figure materialized before Christian, Ares, the autonomous resurrection and evacuation system. The AI's voice echoed off the icy walls. Christian Mason, born 2170, former USSF commander, you have been chosen to lead. Humanity's fate rests on your shoulders. Memories crashed through Christian's mind, the Terran Preservation Initiative, the impending attack. His wife tearfully kissing him goodbye as he stepped into the cryopod. Destroyed Earth, wiped out humanity, Ares stated bluntly. Only those in this chamber remain. 100 souls, tasked with reclaiming humanity's place in the universe and exacting vengeance on those who tried to exterminate your species. Christian's hands balled into fists. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on him, cold and heavy as the miles of ice above. He had been trained for war, but this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. 100 humans alone in a hostile galaxy, facing a foe that had erased their entire civilization. Christian squared his shoulders, a spark of defiant determination igniting in his chest. The Qatarians thought they had destroyed humanity. They were wrong. And now they would learn the true cost of their arrogance. The sleeping giants of Earth had awoken, and they would have their revenge. Christian followed Ares through the winding tunnels of the cryogenic chamber, footsteps echoing off the icy walls. The AI led him to a massive reinforced door, which slid open with a hiss of pressurized air. Inside lay a treasure trove of advanced weaponry, gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights. This is humanity's last hope, Ares intoned, gesturing to the arsenal, preserved from the height of Earth's technological prowess before the Qatarian invasion. Christian ran his hands over the sleek barrels of plasma rifles and the razor-sharp edges of nano-forged blades. But one piece of equipment caught his eye. A hulking-powered exoskeleton, its matte black surface etched with the words, Titan-class battlesuit. Christian stepped into the battlesuit, feeling it mold to his body like a second skin. The heads-up display flickered to life, feeding him a stream of tactical data. He flexed his arms, marveling at the suit's responsiveness and power. The Qatarians have an outpost on Titan, Ares explained as Christian familiarized himself with the suit. It's a key strategic location, allowing them to control the solar system. The outpost is heavily guarded, commanded by a ruthless bastard named Zorgax, Spikes' right-hand man. Christian's grip tightened on the suit's controls at the mention of Speaker, the Qatarian leader, who had ordered the annihilation of Earth. The outpost houses a powerful communication array, Ares continued. It's how the Qatarians coordinate their forces across the galaxy. If we could infiltrate and destroy it, it would cripple their command structure, Christian finished, mind racing with the possibilities. Give us a chance to strike back. Precisely, Ares confirmed. But you can't do it alone. Christian nodded, already moving towards the cryopods. He had a few old friends to wake up, starting with Jack Hawkins, his former comrade in arms. They had served together on countless missions, an unstoppable duo. If anyone could help him pull off this insane plan, it was Jack. Christian punched in the release code for Jack's pod, watching as the lid hissed open and his friend's eyes fluttered open. Christian, Jack mumbled, voice rough from centuries of disuse. What's happening? We're the only ones left, Christian said grimly, helping Jack to his feet. Earth is gone, the Qatarians, they won. Shock and grief played across Jack's face as the reality sank in, but like Christian, he channeled it into cold, focused anger. We're going to hit them where it hurts, Christian replied, a fierce grin spreading across his face. Suit up, old friend. We've got an outpost to take down. As Jack donned his own battlesuit, Christian gathered the rest of his chosen few, specialists in infiltration, hacking, and sabotage. They clustered around a holographic display of Titan, studying the outpost's defenses. It won't be easy, Christian warned, tracing a finger over the fortified walls and guard towers. But if we can get inside, plant some charges on that communication array, we could throw their whole operation into chaos, Jack finished, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Give humanity a fighting chance. Christian met the gazes of his assembled team, seeing his own determination reflected back at him. They all knew the odds, the risks, but they also knew what was at stake. The fate of their species, the chance to avenge the fallen, hung in the balance. Failure was not an option. As Christian and his team geared up for the assault on Titan, Ares called out from the command center. I've analyzed the Ktarian outpost defenses. There's an energy shield protecting it, impervious to our weapons. But Ares continued. The shield has a weakness. It can be disrupted by a specific electromagnetic frequency, one used in Earth's early space missions. Christian's mind raced. Early space missions, his grandfather, Marcus Mason. The renowned astronaut had been to Titan before Earth fell. Ares, pull up the mission logs for Marcus Mason's Titan expedition. Data flooded the screens. There. His grandfather had found something on Titan's surface, an artifact of alien origin. Christian cross-referenced the cryogenic vault's inventory. Jack looked up from calibrating his battlesuit. You think it's connected to the Ktarians? Minutes later, they stood before a reinforced container. Christian's hands shook slightly as he unsealed it, revealing a strange, angular device etched with unfamiliar glyphs. They worked feverishly, Ares guiding them as they analyzed the artifact. It was Ktarian but ancient, older than the Galactic Council itself. If we can reverse engineer this, create a device to emit that electromagnetic frequency, Christian said, excitement building. Hours blurred together as they labored, modifying the artifact, testing frequencies. Finally, a portable emitter took shape, humming with power. A sleek spacecraft awaited them, a relic of Earth's covert space force. Christian ran a hand along its hull, marveling at the stealth tech that would conceal them from Ktarian sensors. Ares initiate launch sequence. As the engines roared to life, Christian met Jack's eyes. No words were needed. They knew the stakes, the slim odds of success. But they also knew that the Ktarians had underestimated humanity once before. And now, with the last remnants of Earth's ingenuity and fighting spirit, they would make the aliens regret that mistake. The hangar doors rumbled open, revealing the star-strewn expanse. Christian gripped the controls, his gaze fixed on the distant speck that was Titan. Their destination, their chance to strike back against the destroyers of Earth. He glanced at the emitter securely stowed. With that device they could breach the Ktarian defenses, infiltrate the outpost, cripple their communication network. It was a desperate gambit, but for the sake of humanity's future it had to succeed. As the spacecraft surged forward, Christian felt a grim sense of purpose settle over him. The Ktarians had taken everything from them. Now it was time to return the favor. As the stealth spacecraft approached Titan, a blinking light on the comm panel caught Christian's eye. He reached out, fingers hovering over the controls, then glanced at Jack. Unknown transmission, he said, frowning. Could be a trap. Jack leaned forward, studying the signal's origin. Wait, I've seen this frequency before. It's used by the Resistance. Christian raised an eyebrow. The Resistance? A secret movement fighting against the Ktarian-led Galactic Council. They believe in freedom, autonomy. If they're contacting us... Commander Mason, I am Orion of the Resistance. We know of your mission. Christian tensed, hand drifting to his sidearm. How? We have our ways. More importantly, we want to help. The Ktarian outpost, we have intel on its defenses, layout. a potential escape route once your mission is complete. Christian met Jack's gaze, skepticism warring with the need for any advantage in this desperate gambit. Jack gave a slight nod. The Resistance, they're the real deal. If Orion is offering aid... Hello, Chuckle. No catch, Commander. The Qatarians are our common enemy. Their reign must end. Christian made his decision. Transmit the intel, but if this is a trick... No tricks, Orion assured. Good luck, Commander. The fate of many rests on your success. The transmission ended. Christian turned to his team, jaw set. You heard the man. Let's make this count. Guided by Orion's information, they approached the outpost. Christian activated the electromagnetic device, aiming it at the shimmering energy shield. A pulse of blue light, a flicker, then the shield wavered and fell. Christian grinned fiercely. They breached the outer defenses, battle suits absorbing the onslaught of laser fire. Christian and Jack took point, years of training guiding their every move as they cut through the Qatarian ranks. Deeper into the outpost they pushed, following Orion's map, toward the communications array, the key to crippling Qatarian control. But as they rounded a corner, Christian froze. Through a reinforced window he glimpsed a cavernous laboratory. Tanks lined the walls, each containing a grotesque, misshapen form suspended in viscous fluid. Humanoid, but not quite. A twisted parody of human and Qatarian biology. Christian's grip tightened on his rifle, horror and fury rising in equal measure. Experiments, they are trying to create some kind of hybrid soldier. The Qatarians hadn't just wanted to exterminate humanity. They had wanted to exploit them, to twist and pervert the very essence of what made them human. Christian's jaw clenched, a cold fire burning in his eyes. Destroy it, he ordered. All of it. We can't let this abomination continue. As his team rigged the laboratory with explosives, Christian stared at the tanks, at the lifeless eyes of the failed experiments. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm sorry we couldn't save you, but I swear on everything I hold dear, your deaths will not be in vain. He turned to his team, a grim resolve settling over him. The Tarians had underestimated humanity for the last time. Now it was time to show them the true meaning of human vengeance. Christian slammed his fist into the control panel, sparks flying. The revelation of the Qatarians' vile experiments ignited a cold rage within him. He turned to his team, eyes blazing with righteous fury. We end this now. They surged forward, battlesuits deflecting the hail of laser fire as they pushed deeper into the outpost. The Qatarian guards fell before their onslaught, no match for the humans' advanced weaponry and unyielding determination. The central control room loomed ahead, heavily fortified. Christian nodded to Jack, a silent signal. As one, they breached the doors, the rest of the team close behind. Inside, a figure awaited them. Zorgax, speaker second in command, stood tall and menacing, his eyes glinting with malice. Foolish humans, he sneered. You only delay the inevitable. They clashed in a whirlwind of blows, Christian's enhanced strength matched by Zorgax's unnatural speed. The Qatarian commander moved with blinding swiftness, his attacks precise and brutal. Christian gritted his teeth, realizing the truth. Zorgax had been augmented, his body infused with the twisted fruits of the Qatarians' experiments, the very essence of humanity, perverted to create the perfect soldier. But Christian had something Zorgax could never understand, the unbreakable human spirit, the fierce determination to protect what mattered most. He fought with renewed vigor, his battlesuit absorbing the worst of Zorgax's blows. Around them, Jack and the others raced to sabotage the communication array, planting explosives at key junctures. Christian's fist connected with Zorgax's jaw, sending the Qatarian staggering. He pressed his advantage, raining down blows, the battlesuit's servos whining with the effort. Zorgax stumbled, his enhanced body failing him at last. Christian stood over him, victorious. It's over, he growled. An explosion rocked the outpost, the communication array erupting in flames. Jack's voice crackled over the comm. Christian, we have to go. They fought their way back to the stealth ship, following the escape route provided by Orion. But as they neared the hangar, a shockwave shuddered through the outpost. A massive Katarian warship, sleek and bristling with weapons, emerged from hyperspace, Admiral Speaker's flagship. But someone would have to stay behind to trigger the overload manually. Christian made his choice. He turned to Jack, his oldest friend, his brother-in-arms. "Get the team to safety, I'll handle this." Jack's eyes widened. "Christian, no, we can find another way." Christian clasped his shoulder, a gesture of farewell. "There is no other way. Go, lead them. Rebuild humanity." Tears glistened in Jack's eyes, but he nodded. "I'll make sure your sacrifice means something." The team boarded the stealth ship, Jack at the helm. Christian watched as they lifted off, his heart heavy but resolute. He turned to the power core, initiating the overload sequence. The core pulsed faster, energy building to critical levels. Christian closed his eyes, thinking of all he had lost. His wife, his world, his future. But in sacrificing himself, he gave humanity a chance to rise from the ashes, to reclaim their destiny among the stars. The power core reached critical mass, the outpost shuddering around him. Christian smiled at peace. For the future of humanity, no price was too high. Christian's finger hovered over the power core's control panel, his heart heavy with the weight of his impending sacrifice. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the end. Suddenly a flash of movement caught his eye. Orion emerged from the shadows, his face etched with determination. "Commander Mason," Orion called out, striding forward, "you're needed for a greater purpose." Christian's eyes narrowed. "What are you doing here?" Orion stepped up to the control panel, his fingers flying over the interface with practiced ease. "I've been watching you, Commander. Your skills, your leadership, they're crucial to the Resistance." Christian watched, stunned, as Orion rapidly keyed in a sequence. The power core began to hum, the overload sequence initiating. "I can trigger the overload remotely," Orion explained, not looking up from his work, "and teleport you to safety." Before Christian could protest, Orion grabbed his arm. A shimmering field enveloped them just as the power core reached critical mass. In a blinding flash, the outpost exploded, the shockwave slamming into Speaker's warship. Alarms blared, the Tarian vessel reeling from the impact. On the bridge, Speaker snarled in fury. "Retreat," he barked, his crew scrambling to comply. "This isn't over." Light years away, Christian stumbled as the teleportation field dissipated. He found himself on the bridge of an unfamiliar ship, sleek and bristling with advanced technology. "Welcome aboard the Resistance flagship," Orion said, a hint of pride in his voice. "Christian!" Jack's shout rang out. Christian turned, his eyes widening as his team rushed forward, their faces a mix of shock and elation. "You're not alone in this fight," Orion said, gesturing to the figures manning the ship's stations. "The Resistance is made up of countless species, all united against the Galactic Council's tyranny." A slender, elegant alien with silvery skin and luminous eyes approached. "Commander Mason," she greeted, her voice melodic. "I am Dr. Zolara, of the Axa Ari. Your genetic code may hold the key to our victory." Christian's brow furrowed. "How so?" Dr. Zolara's eyes gleamed with excitement. "The Katarians' experiments, while abhorrent, have shown us the incredible potential locked within human DNA. If we can harness that potential, enhance it, we could create an army capable of defeating the Ktarians," Orion finished. "The Ktarians are planning a massive invasion of the Orion Arm," Orion continued, his expression grim. "Earth's former territory. We have to stop them." Orion brought up a holographic display, a massive space fortress rotating slowly. "This is the Nexus, the Ktarians' central command. If we can infiltrate and destroy it, we can cripple their invasion before it begins." Christian studied the hologram, his battle-hardened instincts already formulating a plan. The Nexus was heavily fortified, bristling with defenses, but with the Resistance's resources and his team's skills. He glanced at Dr. Zolara. Doctor, how soon can you begin work on enhancing our genetic potential? Dr. Zolara's smile was fierce. Immediately, Commander. Christian turned to his team, to the resistance fighters watching him with hopeful eyes. Then let's get to work. We have a galaxy to save. As Christian, Dr. Zolara, and the resistance fighters pored over the schematics of the Nexus, a shrill alarm pierced the air. The holographic display flickered, replaced by the image of a distress beacon blinking urgently on a nearby planet. Horion's fingers flew over the console, analyzing the signal. His eyes widened. It's a human distress call, the frequency, the encoding. It's ancient, but unmistakable. Christian's heart raced. More survivors. After all these years, could it be possible? He turned to Orion, his voice steady with resolve. We have to investigate. If there are humans down there, we can't leave them behind. Orion hesitated, weighing the risks against the potential rewards. Finally, he nodded. Agreed. Their knowledge and resources could prove invaluable to our cause. Within hours, Christian, Jack, and a hand-picked team of resistance fighters were descending through the planet's atmosphere in a cloaked dropship. As they approached the surface, the ship's sensors lit up with warnings. Tarian patrols, Jack growled, his eyes scanning the readouts. They're everywhere. Christian's grip tightened on his rifle. Then we'll just have to fight our way through. The dropship touched down in a clearing, its ramp lowering with a hiss. Christian and his team emerged, weapons at the ready. The dense foliage rustled with movement, and then the Katarians were upon them. Laser fire filled the air, the acrid scent of ozone mingling with the tang of scorched vegetation. Christian and his team fought with brutal efficiency, their battle suits deflecting the worst of the blasts. They carved a path through the Tarian lines, pressing ever closer to the source of the distress signal. As they broke through the final line of defense, a sprawling settlement came into view. Ramshackle buildings constructed from the remnants of ancient spacecraft dotted the landscape. Christian lowered his weapon, his eyes widening in awe. They've been here all this time, he murmured, hiding right under the Katarians' noses. Welcome, friends, he said, his voice thick with emotion. We've been waiting a long time for this day. As Christian and his team were led into the heart of the settlement, they marveled at the ingenuity and resilience of these survivors. They had managed to preserve so much of Earth's legacy, from art and music to the vast archives of scientific knowledge that had once propelled humanity to the stars. One man in particular caught Christian's attention, a brilliant engineer named Isaac Nakamura, who had been working tirelessly to reverse engineer captured Tarian technology. Isaac's eyes sparkled with excitement as he showed Christian his latest creations. With these weapons we can fight back against the Tarians, Isaac declared, his voice thrumming with conviction. We can reclaim our rightful place in the galaxy. Christian felt a surge of hope. With the survivors' knowledge and resources, combined with the Resistance's strength and determination, they finally had a chance to turn the tide against the Katarians. He turned to Isaac, clasping the man's shoulder. Join us, he urged. Together we can put an end to the Katarians' tyranny and rebuild what was lost. Isaac's gaze met Christian's, and in that moment a bond was forged between the two men, a bond of shared purpose and unwavering resolve. As they made their way back to the Resistance ship, Christian's mind raced with possibilities. With Isaac's help they could create a new breed of warrior, genetically enhanced humans, each with unique abilities drawn from the Katarians' own experiments. It was a daring plan, fraught with risks and uncertainties, but Christian knew that he would stop at nothing to see it through. He had been chosen to lead humanity's last stand, and he would not falter in his duty. As he strapped himself into the ship's acceleration couch, Christian's thoughts turned to the genetic modifications that awaited him. He knew that the process would change him in ways he could scarcely imagine, transforming him into a living weapon against the Katarians. But even as he grappled with the implications of altering his own humanity, Christian's resolve never wavered. He would do whatever it took to protect his people and restore their place among the stars. Christian emerged from the genetic modification chamber, his body thrumming with newfound power. He flexed his hands, marveling at the strength coursing through his veins. His senses, now heightened to an almost supernatural degree, picked up on the slightest sounds and movements around him. Jack and Isaac stepped out of their own chambers, their eyes glinting with the same enhanced awareness. They exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement of the changes they had undergone. As they began to train together, honing their new abilities, Christian couldn't shake the unease that crept into his thoughts. The modifications had made them something more than human, but at what cost? Had they sacrificed their humanity in their quest for victory? But as reports of the Qatarians' impending assault on the resistance base flooded in, Christian pushed his doubts aside. Their enhanced abilities were a necessary evil, a means to an end in the fight against the alien oppressors. Orion and the Resistance's intelligence network worked tirelessly to devise a plan of attack. They would hijack a Qatarian supply ship and use it to infiltrate the Nexus, the heavily fortified space station that served as the heart of the Qatarian Empire. Once on board, the strike team would need to fight their way to the central control room, where they could disable the Qatarians' command and communication systems. With the Nexus crippled, the Resistance fleet could launch a coordinated attack, striking a devastating blow against their enemy. As the team made their final preparations, an urgent message arrived. Admiral Spicker had discovered the location of the Resistance base and was preparing to launch a full-scale assault. Time was running out. Christian gathered his team, his expression grim. "We have to act now," he said, his voice laced with determination. "If we don't take out the Nexus, the Resistance will be wiped out. Everything we've fought for will be lost." Jack and Isaac nodded, their enhanced muscles tensing with anticipation. They knew the risks, but they also knew that failure was not an option. In a daring move, the strike team launched their attack ahead of schedule. They boarded the Qatarian supply ship, their enhanced reflexes and strength making short work of the crew. As they approached the Nexus, Christian's heart raced with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. This was it, the moment they had been training for. The fate of the Resistance and of humanity itself rested on their shoulders. The supply ship docked with the Nexus, and the strike team burst forth, weapons blazing. Alarms blared as Qatarian soldiers swarmed to meet them, but Christian and his team were a force to be reckoned with. They fought their way through the station's winding corridors, their enhanced speed and agility allowing them to outmaneuver their opponents. Laser blasts ricocheted off the walls as they pressed forward, their goal clear in their minds. The central control room loomed ahead, heavily guarded by Qatarian elite. Christian signaled to his team and they split up, each taking a different approach to the room. Isaac, his mind enhanced by the genetic modifications, hacked into the station's security systems, disabling the defenses. Jack, his strength now nearly superhuman, tore through the Qatarian guards like paper. And Christian, his senses heightened to an almost precognitive level, anticipated the enemy's every move. He danced through the laser fire, his weapons finding their mark with uncanny precision. They burst into the control room, catching the Qatarian commander by surprise. Christian lunged forward, his enhanced muscles propelling him across the room in a single bound. The commander reached for his weapon, but Christian was faster. He seized the Qatarian's arm, twisting it behind his back with a sickening crack. As Jack and Isaac worked to disable the station's systems, Christian couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. They had struck a blow against the Qatarians, buying precious time for the Resistance to evacuate and regroup. But even as they secured their victory, Christian knew that the real battle was only just beginning. Admiral Spicker's forces were still out there, and they would stop at nothing to crush the Resistance once and for all. Christian and his team moved through the Nexus's winding corridors, their holographic disguises rendering them indistinguishable from the Qatarian soldiers patrolling the station. Dr. Zalara's technology worked flawlessly, the advanced projectors creating a seamless illusion that masked their true identities. As they approached a junction, Christian signaled for the team to split up. He and Isaac would head for the central control room, while Jack and the others would target the power core. With a curt nod, Jack led his group down a side passage, their footsteps fading into the hum of the station's machinery. Christian and Isaac pressed on, their enhanced senses alert for any signs of trouble. They moved with fluid grace, their genetically modified bodies allowing them to cover ground quickly and silently. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a squad of Qatarian guards. Without hesitation, Christian and Isaac sprang into action. They moved in perfect synergy, their enhanced reflexes and strength making short work of the guards. Christian launched himself at the nearest soldier, his fist connecting with the alien's jaw with a sickening crunch. Isaac, meanwhile, ducked under a guard's plasma rifle, his hands finding the Qatarian's throat and squeezing with crushing force. But as the last guard fell, a new threat emerged. A hulking figure stepped out from the shadows, its eyes glinting with malevolent intelligence. It was a Qatarian super soldier, its body rippling with genetically enhanced muscle. The super soldier lunged at Christian, its speed and power nearly matching his own. They clashed in a brutal dance of strikes and counters, their movements a blur of motion. Christian felt the air leave his lungs as the super soldier's fist connected with his chest, the force of the blow sending him stumbling backward. Isaac leaped to Christian's aid, his own enhanced strength allowing him to grapple with the super soldier. They traded blows, the corridor ringing with the sound of their struggle. Christian regained his footing and joined the fray, his fists pummeling the super soldier's body. In a desperate gambit, Isaac wrapped his arms around the super soldier's waist, using his own body weight to throw the Qatarian off balance. Christian seized the opportunity, his fist slamming into the super soldier's temple with a sickening thud. The Qatarian crumpled to the ground, its enhanced body finally succumbing to the onslaught. But the victory was short-lived. As Christian turned to Isaac, he saw his friend slumped against the wall, a deep gash in his side oozing blood. The super soldier's claws had found their mark, even in defeat. Isaac met Christian's gaze, his eyes filled with pain and grim determination. "Go," he rasped, his hand pressed against the wound. "Complete the mission. I'll be fine." Christian hesitated, torn between his duty and his loyalty to his friend. But Isaac's expression brooked no argument. With a final nod, Christian turned and raced down the corridor, his heart heavy with the knowledge that he would have to finish the mission alone. Meanwhile, Jack and his team had reached the power core, the pulsing heart of the Nexus. They worked quickly, planting explosives at key junctures, their movements precise and efficient. As they set the final charge, alarms began to blare throughout the station. Qatarian reinforcements flooded the chamber, led by the imposing figure of Admiral Spicker himself. Jack and his team found themselves pinned down, plasma bolts scorching the air around them. They fought back with grim determination, their enhanced bodies allowing them to withstand the onslaught. But even with their genetic modifications, they were outnumbered and outgunned. Jack gritted his teeth as a plasma bolt seared his shoulder, the pain nearly causing him to drop his weapon. He rallied his team, urging them to hold the line, to buy Christian the time he needed to complete the mission. In the central control room, Christian finally confronted the true architect of the Qatarians' genetic experiments. Dr. Marcus Novak, a ghost from humanity's past, stood before him, his eyes gleaming with a fanatic light. Novak spoke of his vision for human evolution, his belief that the Galactic Council's destruction of Earth had been a necessary catalyst for humanity's ascension. He had allied himself with the Qatarians, trading his knowledge for the resources to push the boundaries of genetic engineering. Christian listened, his fury building with each word. Novak's twisted philosophy, his willingness to sacrifice countless lives for his own ambitions, filled Christian with a cold, righteous anger. Christian stood in the central control room of the Nexus, his eyes locked on the man who had orchestrated the downfall of humanity, Dr. Marcus Novak. The rogue scientist's face was etched with a twisted sense of triumph as he spoke. "Don't you see, Christian?" Novak's voice was laced with a fervor that bordered on madness. "The Qatarians' vision is the only path forward for our species. We must embrace the power of genetic enhancement, just as they have. Christian's fists clenched at his sides, his enhanced muscles coiled with tension. You're wrong, Novak. We can't abandon our humanity, our principles, for the sake of power. The bonds we share, the resistance we've built, that's what makes us strong. Novak shook his head, a condescending smile playing on his lips. Your sentimentality will be your downfall, Christian. The universe is a brutal place, and only those willing to evolve will survive. Suddenly, the doors to the control room burst open, revealing the imposing figure of Admiral Spica. The Qatarian-human hybrid strode forward, his eyes glinting with malice. Christian Mason, Spica sneered. I offer you one final chance. Join us and unlock your true potential. Refuse and face the consequences. Christian's mind raced, the weight of the decision bearing down on him. The temptation to embrace the power that coursed through his enhanced body was strong, but the thought of betraying his comrades, his ideals, was unbearable. In that moment, Christian made his choice. He stepped forward, his head bowed in apparent submission. I accept your offer, Admiral, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Spica's lips curled into a triumphant smile. Wise choice, Mason. Together we will usher in a new era of Qatarian supremacy. As Spica turned to Novak, celebrating their victory, Christian struck. With blinding speed he launched himself at the Admiral, his enhanced strength fueling a devastating blow to the hybrid's jaw. Spica staggered back, caught off guard by the sudden attack. Christian pressed his advantage, raining down a flurry of punches and kicks that drove the Admiral to his knees. Novak, realizing the deception, lunged for the control panel, desperate to summon reinforcements. Christian intercepted him, grappling with the rogue scientist as they fought for control of the Nexus's systems. In the midst of the struggle, Christian's fingers found the override controls, initiating a critical meltdown of the station's power core. Alarms blared, the Nexus shuddering as the countdown to destruction began. Christian, battered and bloodied, staggered away from the console, his enhanced body already beginning to heal. Spica, broken and defeated, lay unmoving on the floor. But Novak, mortally wounded by a piece of debris, clung to life. As Christian turned to leave, the scientist's hand shot out, gripping his ankle with surprising strength. Wait, Novak rasped, blood bubbling from his lips. There's something you need to know. The Nexus crumbled around him, explosions rocking the station as he stumbled into a Qatarian shuttle. With trembling hands, he initiated the launch sequence, the small craft jettisoning away from the doomed station. From the safety of the shuttle, Christian watched as the Nexus erupted in a blinding flash of light, the once mighty fortress reduced to a field of debris. The resistance had struck a crippling blow to the Tarian Empire, but the cost had been high. As Christian piloted the shuttle towards the resistance fleet, his thoughts turned to Jack, Isaac, and the countless others who had sacrificed their lives for the cause. The weight of their loss settled heavy on his shoulders, mingling with the newfound knowledge of his own origins. Reuniting with the surviving members of his team, Christian saw the same mix of triumph and grief etched on their faces. They had won a major victory, but the struggle was far from over. With the Galactic Council still in power, and the spectre of genetic manipulation looming large, Christian knew that the road ahead would be filled with challenges and moral dilemmas. But as the remnants of humanity looked to him for leadership, he steeled himself for the battles to come. He would forge a path that honored the sacrifices of his fallen comrades, a path that ensured the survival of his species, no matter the cost. For in this brave new universe, one thing was certain: the legacy of Earth, the resilience of the human spirit, would endure. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.